Welcome back, mamas. It's your girl, Miss Toni, and I'm so glad you joined me this week for week 29 of my 40-year-old pregnancy journey. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to my channel. I love seeing all these new subscribers. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm glad to have you. And thanks to all of my regulars as well. So this week, the baby is the size of a cauliflower, and that's about 16 inches and about 3 pounds. So baby's definitely at that 3 pound mark now. I thought last week that we were really close, and now the baby's gained a few more ounces, so we have hit that 3 pound mark. As far as new updates, the baby is now at a point in size where I can do kick counts now. So that's a lot of fun. That's when you eat some food and you wait maybe 10 minutes and you lay on your left side and you just count how many times the baby kicks in about a 10-minute time frame. It's very fun because I didn't start feeling counts allow you to actually determine how many kicks from then on. I've been feeling time frame movements all day long, the doctor every single day. Sometimes especially after I eat something, you know, have you counted? Sometimes in the middle of the night, baby, is just up and down is now. And so, but I did it the other day and counted for, like I said, about 10 minutes. And I swear to y'all, I had like 30 movements in that time frame. The baby was like nonstop. And they say you don't just count the actual kicks, like you can count any movement. So it can be a push, a jab, a turning, a rolling. All moms will describe what they feel differently. It's not the same with every pregnancy. It's not the same from day to day with this current pregnancy. So you feel different movements. Sometimes you can feel baby like turning in a certain position. Sometimes you don't know what you're feeling. You just feel some type of movement. So you're like, what is that? Any type of movement is included in that kick count. So again, it's a lot of fun, and I'm happy that I'm at the point now where I can start doing my little kick counts after I eat, just to see how active the baby is and to make sure you're getting a lot of movement, especially because after you eat, the baby's eating too, and they're excited. They get that energy from your food. And so it's a perfect time to do those counts. So one new change that I've had to make in this past week is with my workouts. I currently have like a 10-pound weight that I typically use, and I actually have had to reduce the weight of the weights because it's getting too heavy. So if I just do a regular rep, I get out of breath really quickly. And I'm used to doing hundreds, you know. I'm out of breath right now just telling y'all. So I've sadly had to reduce my weights for my arm workouts. But it's important to make sure you do what's healthy for you, and you don't want to overexert yourself. And so even with my cardio, I've reduced my hour on the treadmill to more like 40 minutes. And that's about every other day. So I don't get on every day. Like I wish I could. I don't even have the time. But I do every other day, and instead of doing the hour that I have been doing up until this point, I'm doing closer to about 40 minutes, 45 minutes if I can get more walking in. So it's just one of those things, you know, once you're getting bigger, I'm in my 3rd trimester now, so I have to be cognizant of my overall health. And again, I don't want to do anything that would be a risk to me or to the baby, or that would cause me to have my heart rate go up too high too quickly. And so those are 2 adjustments that I've had to make this past week. And when I'm doing my floor exercises, I usually have these weights for my ankles, and these are I don't know how heavy. Oh, just 1.5 pounds. So they're super light, and you just put those on your ankle and get your workout on. I use it for whenever I'm doing plyometrics, Pilates, anything like that. Even when I'm just doing squats, just to have that weight resistance. So y'all can see my lovely weights there. So yeah, those are still fine, the 1.5, because they're only 1.5 pounds each. The weights though, I had to reduce, and then the cardio drastically reduced. So just something new now that I'm in this point of my pregnancy, having to do some adjusting. So I have to tell y'all real quick, a quick story. So I had to go to my orthodontist. I hadn't been there in years, but I have a permanent retainer on my top teeth, top 4 teeth. And I literally had it for like 20 years, but it ended up breaking a few months ago. And so I had to start going to the orthodontist to get it corrected because I had some movement in my teeth. That's one thing when you're pregnant, your teeth move really quickly. Like if they used to be in a certain position, maybe you had braces years ago, your teeth will start to remember that pattern and start to go back to that old space. So it's very interesting, all the changes that you have with your pregnancy. But anyway, my retainer broke. I started having movement literally within like 2 days. I had a spacing in my teeth. And so I had to start going back just to make sure I got a new mold and so that the orthodontist could track the progress. And so I ended up going for a few months. But anyway, I was there and I had to get an impression because I was getting a new retainer that I had to wear at night. And the girl put the whole metal piece in my mouth. And it's got like if you guys haven't seen it before, here's a quick picture. It's like a piece of metal and they have the gum material on the plate. And then they stick that into your mouth to take the impression of your teeth. And then they use that in the computer system later to get the approximate measurements for your mouth. I gagged so hard when this girl put this in my mouth that I cried. Like I gagged that hard. And I haven't gagged since the beginning of my pregnancy. So I didn't realize that I even still had that gag reflex. Like it used to be bad, like in the first trimester, even some of the second, I'd say beginning of the second. If I was brushing my teeth, I mean, I would gag like daily. But this was bad and it was embarrassing because the girl didn't even know I was pregnant. And so she didn't know what was going on. She was a young girl, young tech. Tears were streaming down my face because as just a natural reflex to this whole moment. So she's got this in my mouth. You can't breathe through your mouth because you got this whole huge contraption in your mouth. I'm trying to breathe out of my nose, but at the same time, I'm gagging. And so I'm trying to tell her to get it out, but she kind of froze. She didn't know what to do. So I ended up like having to pull this thing out of my mouth. And I just kept apologizing afterwards. And I told her I was pregnant. She was like, oh, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. Don't apologize. It's okay. But I was just like so embarrassed. But then I started cracking up because I was like, man, that whole moment was ridiculous. Just one of those moments you might have. Again, I didn't even think I had a gag reflex at this point of my pregnancy, but apparently she triggered it with that whole thing in my throat. So be careful if you ever have to get orthodontic work and get one of those placed in your mouth while you're pregnant. Beware. One other thing I wanted to discuss was, interestingly, how my other 2 kids are starting to respond to me. So they clearly know I'm pregnant. They come and rub the belly every day. They say hi to the baby every day. They're in love with this belly. But I've noticed in their behavior certain differences. So with Cammie, who's 2, she has already been my shadow. Like Calvin always calls her my best friend, my BFF, because she literally can't go into a room. If I'm not in there, she's like, where is mommy? And she doesn't say mommy with the M. She says Mobby. Where Mobby? Where is Mobby? That's my shadow. That's my stalker. Wherever I go, she goes. My buddy. I won't say she's gotten more clingy because she already is pretty clingy to me, but she has gotten just more lovey-dovey. It's really cute. She tells me she loves me like all day, every day. Like all day, all out of the blue. She just starts saying, Mommy, and I'll be like, yes, love. And she says, I love you. And she'll just say it all day long. It's the cutest thing. It just came out of nowhere. And I'm starting to think that some of these behavior changes are attributed to this new baby on the way. Kennedy's not so cute. Her little behavior changes. She's more whiny lately. She's my 4-year-old. She's never been a crier. I mean, the first couple years of her life, she was not a crier. I will say she hit that terrible 2 stage and she didn't go into like tantrums or anything like that, but she started to become emotional and she wasn't really like that for the first couple years. So we had a short stint where she kind of had that time frame where she cried about everything. But that went away quickly before she even turned 3, thankfully. So lately she's been crying about just the smallest things and she'll just be like, hug me, hug me. It's a little desperate and you just be like, oh, baby, back up. So I got the 2-year-old clingy one on me telling me she loves me all day. And then I got the 4-year-old crying for whatever reason. I mean, she can be happy in 1 second and then the next second she's crying about, she was crying the other day because her thumb was hurting. Like, she doesn't cry. She's a big girl. Like, she takes pain. She falls all the time. She plays soccer. She was crying because her thumb, I mean, she was really, really crying over this thumb hurting because she had a hangnail. And yes, hangnails hurt. Like, it's probably her first one ever, but it's just how dramatically she was crying. She's just, for her to not be a crier, it was like, what is really going on? And then she just was coming up to me, hug me, pick me up, hug me. So 2 different reactions I'm noticing with the 2-year-old and the 4-year-old, but definitely I'm almost 100% sure that it has something to do with them knowing the baby's on the way, and psychologically maybe knowing that they're not going to be the babies anymore. So I don't know, interesting. I'd love to hear from you guys if you've noticed anything with your bigger kids when you were pregnant. So we'll see how things go when I actually bring the baby home. I'm a little worried about that. But just even with pregnancy, I'd love to know if you noticed any behavioral changes in your kids leading up to delivery. Well, that's it for this week. And next week I have another OB appointment. So I am at the point now in my pregnancy, now that I'm in my 3rd trimester, I'm going to start seeing my OB every 2 weeks. So I will have OB updates for you guys on every other video now, which is exciting because it's always good to know the progress, baby's measurements, how the heartbeat sounds, all that good stuff. So next week I'll have an update at my 30-week appointment with my OB. I had to give myself a chair because I'm starting to get out of breath. So I had to get a little director's chair for these videos. So give me a second before I show you guys my belly. So here is my 29-week belly for you guys. Take a peek. There he or she is. And it's funny when you're pregnant, you wear belts and that bad boy be squeezing like, oh, I'm hanging on. But it's one of my little work dresses that had some space so I could still fit it. Well, that's it for week 29 of my 40-year-old pregnancy journey. I'll see you guys next week.